Oh, God. Oh.
Oh my God, somebody get me a beer stat. Alright, welcome everybody to Curious Times. It's Tuesday, Twisted Tuesday. It's March 13th already. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? March 13th, that only means like a few days away from St. Patrick's Day. Any excuse to drink some beer, I guess, eh? Boat Mom, holy crapola. Boat Mom, you just made me fall over on my chair. Holy crap. Hello, welcome. Long time no see, it's so nice to see you. Melissa Bruce, the heavy metal psychic, is here tonight, and let's just see what we have been having a bad spell here lately. So Kathleen is here tomorrow, off Thursday, because Thursdays are off days now, with the Jen Young overworking situation. Selva can't be here Friday, so holy crap. And then Kimber Saturday, Amy Sunday, Monday, Diana Monroe Tuesday, Lisa, Nolan, Shalowski. And so that's what's going on. I got a PM from Mary Margaret, and she's all like, I'm practicing tarot so that in case people cancel on you. And I'm all like laughing because last time she came out, but anyway, we'll get her on here, just like we used to do, push, pull, and drag them in. You know what I mean? And we'd just say, "You're on, do it." And I got some beer to make beer bread. Why in the world would any person waste beer in bread? You have a beer, and you have a nice piece of fresh baked bread, and you have a piece of bread, and you wash down with beer. You do not make bread with beer and waste that beer. I'm just kidding. Anyway, okay. So the heavy metal psychic, Melissa Bruce. She's a psychic. I don't know how you could have guessed that by the name Heavy Metal Psychic. But more importantly, for us, she's also an astrologer. She could talk to your dead people too if you want, and or if they want. I should say if they want, not if you want, because you could want it all you want it, but if they ain't talking, there ain't no way we can make them talk, you know. And anyway, we don't have like the Wonder Woman truth lasso and lasso them and make them talk. I was thinking about that last night, and it's not to be morbid, but like how I really want to set my intent, and I'm trying, like, for when I die, and when I'm dead and gone, okay, that I really want to set my intent to remember, like, to witness and remember and do, and then immediately report back to whoever I have as a friend who's doing a radio show, and go, okay, before I forget what happened, here's what happened, this is what it's like. Here it is. And now I gotta go. See you later. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get it as contemporaneously to the event as possible so as to retain every little detail. But anyway, okay. So back to Melissa. She also does teach. She does courses through her website. You can go find out all about that at theheavymetalpsychic.com. It's actually not theheavymetalpsychic.com. It's www.heavymetalpsychic.com. Heavy Metal Psychic. Okay. And on Facebook, Heavy Metal Psychic. So, but you can find out whatever she might have going on there through there. She likes to also introduce some personal development into her training programs as well, which is a good thing. And she teaches her students how to read their own birth charts and all that kind of good stuff too. So she also does her own show on Paramania Radio on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. And I'm apparently square 360 times out of 361 times. I'm apparently. But that's my nap time. Like, I'm just waking up. You know what I mean? Okay, so with all of that said and everything else, let's bring poor Melissa on so she doesn't have to sit there much longer. And I was going to introduce her husband's left foot, but her husband's
My husband's left foot back there, yes.
He left the building. The left foot left the building.
No,
Anyway, how's Melissa?
It's there. I kind of moved it a little bit because he's doing stuff back there. So I have to comment on your intro here because you keep moving around and I keep thinking of things. So first of all, the cheapest beer is great for cooking. As long as it's Budweiser or that Coors crap or any of that crap that's just one small step above that carbonated water, right?
Yeah.
We call it piss beer, and it's only good for cooking. You don't actually drink it, right? The other thing is that you just gave me a great idea for a radio show. So when in the event that you do die, which is going to happen someday, right? You got to come to me, and we'll do our own radio show, and we'll call it the Psychic and Chris, right? And then I'll just mediumship everything that you say and.
The Living Dead podcast.
The Living Dead podcast, perfect. Yes, and then and it'll sound like I'm talking to myself, but it'll be the both of us. It'll be awesome. We'll co-host. She can be my co-host, my dead co-host.
I won't be able to push buttons or anything like that. You know,
no, you can't produce it. We'll have to find another producer, which is fine. But actually, you probably could push buttons. You never. I've seen some shit in this business. Okay, let me just put it to you that way. I've seen some crazy stuff happen, and I've heard of some crazy stuff happen. Some pretty weird stuff happen, actually. With spirit. So, with people that are trained and people that are untrained, that are just, the spirit is trying desperately to get a hold of them, and they're just not paying attention. So, yeah, that's a great idea. So, yeah, you can always use beer for cooking as long as it's cheap, crappy beer, because that's all it's good for anyways. And I have to say that a good piece of red meat, if you're going to put it on the barbecue, you gotta put it in beer first. It makes the best meat because it
Well,
tenderizes.
listen, back in the good old days when I was younger, I didn't drink, way back when. And really, I mean, I drank when I was very young, like 14.
Me
And then
too.
when I got,
I don't judge. I was 11 when I first started drinking.
I had my fair share of a Magnum of wine at lunch hour by the hockey rink at school, And
Right.
if I, like Strawberry Angel, Lonesome Charlie, a big ass Magnum of the worst god awful wine you could think of.
The cheapest crap. Yep.
Yeah, and so now, but then then I became a responsible adult at the age of 16, and so when I was younger like that, I would buy beer like once a year kind of thing, and it was for in the summertime, like for the first barbecue usually, and I would for marinating steaks, eh? And then I would still have like a couple of big cans of beer left in the fridge still from there, and like at Christmas time or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the only time I used it. And then the other thing that it's really quite nice is making beer batter for onion rings
Fish.
or for fish and chips.
Oh yeah. No, the beer batter. There's nothing better than a beer batter for fish. Absolutely nothing. Of course, I'm a I'm
But
a big fan of chips.
I would put crap beer in that too. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be putting my best beer in that.
No, you don't.
But
Your best beer is for drinking. Your crappy beer is for cooking. We actually had a friend come over. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't drink. Okay, I haven't drank in years because my body said no more. Obviously, I started too early, so I had to end it early. But we had a friend come over the other day at like 9 o'clock in the morning because he just got off work with a beer for my husband. He had this big can of Budweiser, and my husband's like, "What the hell am I supposed to do with that?" Because I'm sure as hell not drinking it. So we wound up actually shoving it up a chicken's butt and putting it on the barbecue.
yeah.
And beer can chicken is the bomb. Okay, the bomb. So no, that's about all that kind of beer is good for is cooking.
Isn't that most American beer though?
That is well, okay, not necessarily. I mean, Sam Adams is an American beer, and it's actually a really good beer.
Yeah.
But the Budweiser and the Coors and the Miller and all that stuff. I don't even think we bought Miller for cooking. Honestly, it's usually the butt wiper or the Coors that we get for cooking because it's just not beer. It's to a true connoisseur of beer, it's not beer. But
The best beer that I had was one time I was at a beer store near Christmas or after it was after Christmas, and it was like a chocolate not cappuccino espresso chocolate espresso beer. Oh my god, it was
I bet that
awesome.
would
But
be good.
brewed just specially for for the Christmas season and then poof, eh? I never found it since. It was darn good. I learned about this Rebel beer through Marie, which doesn't taste all that great, but it has the word Rebel, which is been my nickname for almost ever. You know what I mean? So I had to get some of that. We finally had it available. You know the one that what was the wine, you guys, that I always oh my god, I used to here, I gotta, now that I've thought of it, I have to, does anyone remember? No, there was a wine, and, I gotta find my pictures. Now. Please stand by. And, okay, okay, I wanna have, pictures, and then, VTR. I just said the bad word. And then I want to find a thing in my folder. Holy Batman, all of these folders. Okay, because I know that I used to put this picture up. Kumbaya! Kumbaya wine. Oh my God! Because for all of those years, like I was always like, okay, kumbaya already. Everybody, like all these like spiritual people, they're like, I love you, I love you. Oh, I love you too. Oh, I love you,
Well,
I
yeah,
love
and if they're
you.
drinking, they're gonna love you even more. I used to love everybody when I was drunk.
So when everybody started to get mushy all the time, I would always like play the kumbaya song. You know what I mean? And so anyhow, then I became aware of this kumbaya wine. I'm all like, I have to get that, and it's still not available that I know of in Canada, and it's like insane because before I die, I
I'm
want
gonna have
to
to
have
check
a.
that out because I've never even heard of it.
Actually, I think it might even be in California. And it was kind of funny. We're up here. You guys are down there. We're up here.
Right.
So there's some common geography. United States of America here, Canada here, Canada here, United States of America here. Order, wall.
Not there yet. There's no wall there yet.
with a little that's what he should make up the wall with all a bunch of little hands, little Donald Trump hands.
Yeah.
The wall.
You know, I
Little
thought,
Trump hands.
because I'm in California, so of course we're closer to the Mexico border than we are the Canadian border. I got to go through 2 states before I get to the Canadian border, but they're not even building that wall down here yet. I just really don't see that happening at all. I
But
really do.
in your state today, he had to wait to get on the airplane to fire his Secretary of State. He's a chicken shit asshole that can't even fire his important people face to face. And so he was on his way to California, wherein he called the guy after the guy found out from a tweet that he was no longer the Secretary of State. And so
This is
anyhow,
embarrassing. Okay, I'm an American. It's just
going to
embarrassing.
California. He was going to California to look at wall prototypes. He's having a wall prototype day at California. His first visit to California since he became president, and so he's going there to look at sample walls.
Here, is this happening like right now, or did this already happen? I mean, am I dealing with him now or in the past?
It was today. Like he might be back on Air Force One on the way home. You know, I don't know how long it takes to look at all the new walls that could possibly be built. You know, to go between between and for billions of dollars that I'm sure could be used elsewhere. But anyway, he was in California at least today, doing like wall prototypes. Oh my God!
I have to say though, because I caught something the other day, and it was a friend of mine who's a very educated person. All right, and she posted this bullshit on Facebook. And actually, it was old. It was from August of last year, so it wasn't current. And this post had basically said that crops here in California were rotting off the vine because there were no illegals to come and harvest them, because we here in California don't want to get our hands dirty, and that's why we give it to them to do it. And it's such a load of bullshit,
Yeah,
because I live not only in California, I live where the crops are. There's crops
yeah.
everywhere. If you've ever heard of Blue Diamond almonds, the factory that makes and distributes Blue Diamond almonds is literally 2 exits up on the freeway from where I live, and we are surrounded by almond orchards everywhere. Okay?
Oh, that's
This is what
whoa.
happened last year. Last year, we had our El Nino weather pattern, which happens every 20 years. It's happened every 20 years that I can remember. I'm 41 now. We had one when I was 20 and one when I was 40. And probably one when I was born, but I don't remember it. We had an overabundance of rain here in California. This is California's weather pattern. We go 20 years of drought and then more rain than we can handle. And followed up after more rain than we can handle, we get this massive heat wave, right? So if crops were rotting off of any vines or trees or anything like that, it was due to this extreme wet that we had that's not normal for us, followed by this extreme heat. And those two extremes, every time we have this El Nino pattern, we go into this crop shortage thing because the weather destroys the crops for that year. We don't get as much. There was no we are not allowing illegals to come over here. And there's people in this town, my son did this one year actually, who, because the crop season is so quick and there's so much of it, there's actual people in this town that are legal citizens, born and raised here, who go and they work on these farms to make a little bit of extra money during harvest time.
Yeah.
Everything about what that quote-unquote article was about was baloney. Absolute baloney. Actually, the illegals that are counting on that money didn't get that money because the weather destroyed our crops. So, you know, I don't, first of all, if I read it on Facebook or if I read it on the internet, I can tell you right now, half of it's not even, half of it's, and that right there was, and I actually went to that post and to that friend of mine, and I said, look, I love you. I love everybody here, but you need to really look at the facts to make sure this is really happening, because I'm going to tell you right now, I live here. That didn't happen.
When somebody automatically, like, quickly and rapidly shares something like that, it just shows their own bigotry, really. It shows their own thoughts on the matter, because they're going, yep, that's true, because I think that. It's a stereotype thing that has gotten way out of hand, and it's just really, I've said that a long time now, is like crap, because I would do fact checking, right? It's ludicrous stuff getting shared all over, and it's driving me crazy, political mostly, right? I'm like, so here's a picture. Hillary, Clinton kills another person, kind of thing. Hey, like, how many people did Hillary Clinton murder, hey? And so anyways,
and she's still walking free. Isn't that weird?
Clinton, but so they have this picture and this whole story about another guy that was involved with something, and isn't it funny how all these people wind up dead? Okay. Everybody dies. Okay, kids, like, everybody dies at some point. And so anyways, I take the picture, just the picture, and I tin eye it. You could Google it now, but back in the day or whatever, I was like learned through using this tin eye. And you take a picture, you upload it to their thing, and they do a rapid search of the internet, and they return all examples of where that picture is showing on the internet. Yes, and so anyways, this picture originates from a story years earlier in Canada, from a car accident in Canada. But yet, how many times that thing got shared around and blitzed out there as,
and the story changed, and, I mean, it happens all the time. And I just, I take it all with a grain of salt. The only reason why that one particular one stood out to me was because I was like, okay, you know what? I'm here. I know what's going on in California. I know what's going on with our crops here in California. I live in Crop Central here in California, literally. That is bullshit. That's not what happened. And the only reason that I even commented on it was was basically to tell people, look, you really need to stop posting stuff just because somebody said that this is what happened. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this particular situation, it did not happen. Well, not that I'm out there. And not only that, but a lot of the people that actually work on these farms, they're not illegal. They're legal citizens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is that especially when there's something that's attached to an issue that you are passionate about, that is a real true issue, like, you gotta really avoid, like, putting the bullshit rhetoric attached to that, because what happens is it starts losing credibility then, right? Like, so you have your main issue, that's whatever is your core issue. Now, so go ahead and address that, but don't pile on a bunch of inflammatory BS that isn't true to prop up your argument, or your belief or your thought or whatever, your position on something, because once it's exposed as not being true, your whole issue then starts to lose credibility. And so it's really important that, especially if you're advocating for something or whatever, that you attach only, facts to your situation, your case, your cause, because otherwise,
make sure you know the facts.
yes, facts, guys, and like, I just make it a habit. Of course, I'm not a big Facebook poster person anyhow. The only reason I ever even got Facebook for the most part was way back. Well, the first reason I got it, but then I didn't use it at all, was because I found my birth kid on Facebook, and I thought I couldn't see his profile thing. I didn't know nothing about Facebook, so I thought, well, maybe I have to have an account to see. So I set up the account, and it didn't help. But so there it's that, and really the only reason I have it activated was for the show. You know what I mean? To post links for the show. So, but my policy would be not to forward or like, or, well, every now and then I'll like something, but it's probably been 2 years since I liked even anything on a freaking Facebook,
I tend to only post things that that make me laugh, because I want to make somebody else laugh, and that's it. I don't necessarily post my personal, what I'm doing, pictures and stuff like that every now and then, is one thing, but mainly it's, this made me laugh, I'm going to share it and make somebody else laugh. Or this is a really good message. It reached out to me, and I'm pulled that it's going to reach out to somebody else, so I'm going to share it. Other than that, you're never going to see political or religious or any kind of opinions like that. I don't, because every single time there's somebody there that wants to argue with me. And I'm sorry, but I just don't have the energy to waste on that bullshit anymore. When I was 20 years old, that was a different story. I would argue with you until the cows came home. But I'm not into that anymore.
Well, anybody that would argue is deeply entrenched in their position and unlikely to be wavered or moved by any amount. And all you do is work yourself up into a, pissed off, now really like aggravated state. And
yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of this communication with people where they're right, the other person's wrong. There's no swaying their opinion. Doesn't matter what it is. Religion is actually the biggest one for me, because how can you sit there and tell somebody that doesn't have the same faith as you that their faith is wrong because yours is right? And to me, that's a personal choice. My faith is a personal choice. It works for me. Catholicism does not work for me for any reason. So why can't we just agree to disagree and go have a beer and be cool?
Yeah, well, because my religion means I can't drink, you know what I mean? But I'm just kidding. No, but the thing about that is, like, I was gonna say, like, well, there are some religions that are absolutely wrong, and that's cults. But then I realized, do a check. Every religion is a cult. Really?
Seriously, it's true. It's true. Every single religion has rules, strict rules that you have to abide by. I don't like that, which is why I'm not a religious person. Even paganism, to a certain extent, has its rules, right? Well, that's fine. I am a free spirit. So I take a little bit of everything and I form it into the Melissa-ism belief, and that's what I do. And I'm happy that way. But I don't have to go around arguing with people and tell them that my way is right and theirs is not.
So many times anyways with that, like you think about some of the big preachers of their religions, in the past, and most of them are hypocrites, and, I can't remember what, but like, I got muted.
Okay.
Here's some guy, comes off his Sunday sermon, bringing down fire and brimstone on gay people and everything, and then he's like in the back alley boinking some dude, and it's like out by the dumpster, right? And
Yeah.
or they go home from from their sermon and they go beat their wife or kick their dog or something like that, right? And so like so many of those ones, they're just in it for the job, the gig, the money, whatever, you know what I mean? And they're like, religion of all things seems to me to be robbing from the poor and keeping for themselves. And they all seem to be bleeding money out of people, and I don't see where, like, okay, I'm going to say, like, there's churches that do their little clothing drives or their little food bank things, or they do help some people, but for the Catholic Church is like the richest entity in the whole world or something like that, and like, what are they going to do with that money? Like, why don't you start helping people with that money right now? Right now.
My husband has a T-shirt from a band called Mobile Death Camp, and his grandparents were staunchly Catholic, and he wore this shirt over there to his grandparents' house on purpose because he knew his grandmother was going to say something about it. But on the back of the shirt, it says, "Sell the Vatican, feed the world." And there's a lot of truth in that because, but at the same time, there's also a lot of historical artifacts and things that there's absolutely no possible way that we would get back. I mean, the paintings that Michelangelo did in that building are just, they're amazing, and they're hundreds of years old. I wouldn't agree with selling it all off necessarily, but at the same time, I think that a lot of the basis of a lot of different religions. I know the Catholic and Christian religions are definitely this, is that it was just a way to keep people under control.
Oh, for sure.
You have to do this or this is going to happen to you. And, I watch a lot of historical documentaries because I love historical documentaries. Medieval and Renaissance time periods are my favorite. But there's a lot of other ones too. And it built guidelines for people to act a certain way in order to make it easier to keep people acting that certain way. So, consequently, you have these rules of, even in the turn of the last century with the class system, the churches were set up to preach to people that everybody is the same, but you have your station, and you should be happy for your station. Whereas another generation comes in after World War I and says, no, I want to be able to raise my station. Not stay where I was born, because that's not okay. And then they kind of had to change it, and so they changed how they preached it. So you can see where it's kind of sort of molded itself around how we've changed as a society over the years, but you can also see how it established those class restrictions, right, at the same time, because you have your kings and you have your servants and you have your, and everybody was just supposed to be happy and grateful for where their station was at one time, whereas it's a little bit different now. Because obviously we don't have those class systems anymore.
Yeah. Well, what? Yeah, we do. We do have those class. People that are born in poverty mostly stay there. You know what I mean? And that kind of, there's still very much, but it's just different.
It is different. Yeah.
So there's people who will be inspired to produce above their
motivated. I like motivated better than inspired, because anybody can be inspired. The motivated person is the one who's actually going to get something done.
Okay, I'll go with, it doesn't matter what the word is, but you know what I mean? So there are...
It's a personal development thing.
There are those people that have the drive, and usually it's because somebody has... It reminds me of the baby elephant that starts out being with one leg chained to a tree. And he learns that when he's a baby that he can only get so far away from, he only has a certain walking range. He can't get any further. And then they take the chain off and he won't go any further.
Yeah.
Because he's been conditioned that that's where he stays.
Yes.
And so
yes.
That's a comparator to how, you know, some people, they get, like I say, born into the poverty or whatever. And if they don't have anybody out in their circle who's telling them, oh, you can go past that line and more. You know what I mean? If somebody isn't telling them that and showing them that, then they have a bigger challenge on their hands getting there. You know what I mean? So whatever that, you call that motivating or inspiring or just like deprogramming or programming. Let's program people that they can do and not program the limitations into them, right? And and so we you know, we have two classes now. Like the middle class is pretty much, see ya. There's 4 people left in the middle class. You know what I mean?
We're hanging on for dear life trying to stay, honestly. That's where we're at right now. I'm like, no, I don't want to go down to the poverty level.
You got the filthy rich and the poor. You know, like really, I mean, that's an exaggeration, obviously. But.
No, but we are going back to the Dark Ages because that's how it was. There was no middle class.
Yeah.
So there was either the rich people or the poor people, and that was it. And we're kind of sort of taking a step backwards with that, but yeah,
And there's several categories in the poor listing, like poor, poorer, poorest. You know
I prefer to refer to myself as high class white trash because that's ultimately what we are. Okay, we are in the white trash spectrum, but we're just a little bit higher class than some of the regular white trashers, if you know what I mean. But we still embrace our white trashness because
there you go.
You know, whatever.
I would rather have down to earth people, and I don't care what name we call them. You know what I mean? But like really, I think that when you get down to earth people, of course this isn't going to be the case every time because there's always an exception to the rule, right? But you know. You get like the down to earth people, give them some money to work with, and they can do much more with that money. That will help a lot more people than these
sometimes.
People that are, you know.
Sometimes.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Of course, that's why I put the caveat there, which was to say, you know, not every time. There's people that will get corrupted by the money and become greedy themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or they just spend it all in a day and it's gone. That's all of a sudden, because, you know, you're not used to having that much money. You don't know what to do with it.
Well, mentality is like, if I get a big bundle of money like this, then because I hadn't had it, I'm like hanging on to it. Like I'm going to hang on to it as much as I can, right? And so there's somewhere in between would be the better way to go with it. But anyway, all that aside, we're 20 minutes to 40 minutes in. So what should we do? What do you want to say? You got any interesting astrology stuff going on in the world right now?
Actually, yeah, your favorite Mercury retrograde is coming up, Chris. I was just, you know, you knew you were waiting for it. We're in the shadow period right now, actually, but it starts, any Americans out there, if you haven't got your taxes done, you might want to get them before the 22nd because, you know, with the communication issues that Mercury retrogrades do bring up, obviously you don't want those issues around your taxes or your tax returns, but it does start on the 22nd, so we have 9 days, and it ends on April 15th, which is when taxes are due. So that's why I always tell, you know, so I've been telling everybody, get your taxes done now, get your taxes done now. We did. We were like, yeah, no, well, I don't want to deal with no Mercury retrograde bullshit.
Long Mercury retrograde, isn't it? That seems long to me. Is it really that long?
No, it's 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks. It's the last week of March and then the first 2 weeks of April, pretty much. And And we also have, and this is very interesting because this is the second month that we've had this, where we've got two moons, two full moons. We didn't have a full moon in February. We had two full moons in January and no full moon in February, and then we have two full moons in March, and they're on the same days that they were in January, which I'd love to give you this, wonderful, thing from the gods about what that means, but I found it to be very interesting energy to kick off 2018, because 2017 was, being a 1 year and a year of new beginnings and things like that. It was a really tough adjustment for a lot of people, and these double moons in the first 3 months of the year, I think is creating a tremendous amount of energy, because the 2 years all about building and doing, so you've gone through your change. Now you're building up the next step. And this provides a lot of energy. And these moons have been influenced by, all the way from Cancer to the last one will be in Libra at the end of this month. So we have a blue moon at the end of this month, coming up on the 31st, I think, as well. And then we're going to go back to having a full moon once a month again after this. But energy-wise, what I've experienced with having all of this kind of crazy moon action, and the new moon in February was actually on my birthday, and there was a solar eclipse that took place where, if you happen to be in Antarctica, you got a great view of it. But if you weren't in Antarctica, you didn't even know it happened. But it was in between these 2 months of two moons, and then this solar eclipse that took place right in the middle of February was kind of, the energy is just really projecting us and pushing us forward into building and doing things. And I have personally noticed that this year already, I have dealt with all the same issues that I dealt with within a year of 2017. And I mean, some really major issues that I'm reliving again. But this time it's a little bit different, because I've already done it. I've already gone through it. I'm reacting to it differently. The outcome is different. The communication is different. Working together versus not working together is different. So I think it's providing a really strong energy for us to make the changes that we need to make, because nobody can stay fixed forever. It is, though, or has been, really exhausting for a lot of people. It's really kind of interesting, because I'm finding that with every full moon that we have, I see on Facebook and everybody's talking about how it's affecting them, and it always seems to affect me in the opposite way. I get really energized when everybody else is getting wore down by the full moon energy, and yet I get wore down when everybody's kind of getting energized by the full moon energy. So I guess I'm destined to be the opposite of everybody, which is fine. So, but as far as the Mercury retrograde is concerned, it is an Aries Mercury retrograde, so we are looking at miscommunication in a volatile or possibly sparring way, because Aries has a tendency to be a scrapper. And so I would have to say that this particular Mercury retrograde is helping us deal with certain issues, certain communication patterns that have a tendency to be more violent than they need to be. And a good example of that is I actually was out at a friend's house, just, hanging out, barbecuing, drinking some beers, smoking some weed, doing our thing, listening to music. There was a band practicing, and this girl showed up, and I swear I spent 3 or 4 hours at this woman's house, and this girl, every time I heard her talking, she was going to kick somebody's ass. And that's half the problem with the world right now, is that people don't even realize that they are talking in this way. And it is such a, this particular communication pattern is actually so destructive more so to the individual than whoever that energy is actually being projected out to. So, and I noticed being this person myself at one time, believe it or not, and starting to realize just how this wasn't helping me or the situation that I was dealing with. One of the things that I learned from that situation was that, love does go a lot further than hate does. And communication is most important when you can get through. So these little scraps that we've been talking about, in terms of like Facebook and people arguing with each other over their opinions, there's going to be a lot more of those, as if we need any more of those during this Mercury retrograde. But there's also the possibility of people really seeing just how much of this kind of stuff doesn't work. Because when people are fighting with each other, there's never going to be an outcome to that argument. But if you speak to somebody from the heart, they receive it from the heart or through the heart. And by doing so, and by doing that, you can actually reach that person. Whereas if you're constantly, I'm going to kick your ass, well, obviously you're pushing that person away. They're not going to listen to you.
Well, I mean, you're just pushing that person away. Like, there comes a point
and other
in time,
people.
yeah, where it drains everyone in the environment. You know what I mean? That kind of hostility, combative, and I know because like I used to be that person, and
I was too.
And
and
but,
it does come back up every now and then, yeah.
I mean, I say that, like, I just didn't have a better way to cope with the kind of work I did, and it was showing me only the bad side of people. And, like what employers were doing to people, what insurance companies were doing to people, what the government was doing to people, working people, people that were trying their best to, eke out a little living. And so I was always seeing people at their worst. And, it gave me it made me angry about the system, about, the unfair things happening to good people, and I didn't have a way, so I was like mad all the time, and I was what would the word, like, not negative isn't the right word, although I was that, but like pessimistic, and like I would think like right away if something happened, I would always think that it was cynical.
The worst case scenario, yeah. Yeah.
And so there's certain occupations where you were part of the training in that occupation, or part of the thing in that occupation should be incorporating a mechanism for which you could spend a little bit of time each day or whatever to like shake all that stuff off if you can, and but
oh yeah, because it weighs you down.
100 people just got laid off, or you get 100 or 1,000 people just got laid off, or some guy just got fired for a really outrageously unjust reason, and he was crying in your like what, and like I'm sitting there even cooking supper, I'm like cooking supper, my cell phone rings, and I got to listen to this lady talk to me about her prolapsed uterus and and how sex hurts. Oh my God! Like I can't
Try being a psychic medium, okay? I mean, it's the difficulty with this job is you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with very heavy emotions, and you're dealing with a mountain of problems. And sometimes for the individual, I know I've been through this many, many times. Every once in a while, it's like, hey, can somebody ask how I'm doing? I mean, does anybody really give a shit about how I'm doing? And that's when I go into that more negative space, and then I have to realize, okay, you know what? Their job is not to ask how I'm doing. My job, they're paying me, obviously, to help them, not the other way around. So I actually have people in my life that are established there to ask how I'm doing. But to go
Yeah.
back to this woman who, I mean, I spent 4 hours listening to how she was always talking, I mean, everything was, there's this person and she's getting her ass kicked. And then there's this person, they're getting their ass kicked. I thought this was a nice person until Saturday. Now I really don't want to hang out with her because it's just it's a waste of my time. I don't want to mesh in that kind of energy because I've been there, done that, and I'm done with it. But at the same time, every now and then, because it is a part of me, you just got to release some steam. And I feel like the universe comes in with somebody every now and then. In fact, it just happened. My husband bought something on trial and didn't read it. And rather than taking his head off, because that's what I wanted to do, the actual company, we called them and we said, no, we want that $90 refunded back. We don't want to keep the product. Oh, well, your 14-day trial is over. We just got the product in the mail like 3 days beforehand. So it's coming from Florida. Okay. I've had cards sent to me from Florida. It doesn't take a week and a half to get there. And this is a scam that they've set up. So my husband, I let my husband handle it at first, even though, it was my money that he was spending, but I let him handle it first. The guy hung up on him. That was my clue at that point where it was like, universe wants me to let off some steam. And this time I called him and I gave that guy an earful because I don't like to be lied to. And he did, and he backpedaled, and so I finally wound up having to go to my financial institution and fighting it that way and bringing them into it. But it did give me a good 20-30 minutes to get it out because the guy was asking for it. He was lying to me. He was screwing us over. They were scamming people, I mean, left and right. He's sitting there telling me, this was hilarious. Everybody who's tried to dispute the charges, they don't win, and their financial institution charges them money. No, they don't. I've done this before. No, they don't. And I took that as, okay, obviously you have a lot of experience with people disputing your transactions. That should be a clue, right? Yeah. That should be a clue.
I'd like to thank you, and you say this very calmly, and you go, first of all, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you've provided me with the reason and the excuse to unload every emotion that I've kept pent up for the last 5 years. Yes!
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. Because every now and then the universe knows I got to let that out. And, I do have constructive ways of letting it out, but every now and then some fool shows up and I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's one of those opportunities. And then I will. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I have been known to be, this just happened a few years ago, in the parking lot of a Walmart fighting with some dude ready to box down and take him down. I mean, literally, that's the kind of person that I am. I was going to beat the tar out of this dude in the middle of the parking lot until my husband showed up and the guy ran away. And I was like, David, for the love of God, stay in the van and just let me beat up one person. All right? Just let me do it. I know that you're a dude and you can't let that happen, but just let me do it one time, Because this guy was going to get in my face and I was like, if you're going to hit a woman, you are so dead. And I was going to let him do it because I needed to blow off that steam. And it was fine. But, or if I see something like that, you better believe I go from a love and light place to a I'm killing you place. I'm a human being. That part of us exists. And somebody mentioned something earlier about new age, about people, new agers. This whole love and light and unicorns and rainbows and if you're just positive is bullshit. It's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard in my entire life because that doesn't exist. That's some sort of dream world that somebody made up and it says, okay, if you just do this, everything is going to be perfect for you. No, there are elements of that do work. But if you're not
Well, I
willing
mean,
to put in the work, you're not going to get the money.
listen, for some of them, it's a way that they have concocted to say, to put out the illusion that they are all of that. And if you just keep on sending them your money, they'll teach you how to get it right and be just as blissful as they are. And and these are the people that are, when you catch them, like I've caught a few people, like because of, on the other system before, I could put, like people would be on hold and I could go into the green room or the screening room, right? And so I would just like put a song on and then I would just like go, and like all of a sudden you got like somebody raging because they don't realize that you're about to unmute them into the green room
Right?
like
I love
so.
that shit.
Yeah, you catch some people out on who they really are and everything like that. And then, well, there was the one case, Corrine remembers, and Amy. And this one was all, blah, 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 and very passive aggressive, although everybody else is bullying her and everything else like this. And like, so she's all, I really want to, I love you guys, and I really want to. And so then she like goes, and I just like calmly, and I was like very calm. And I'm like, that's a lie. Like, right, that's a lie. And she just like starts unleashing this cursing and turns into this like, and then she's
It's
all,
like a whole different person. You know what these people, the worst part about this whole thing is, it's not these people who are obviously living in some dream world. It's what these dream world people are teaching other people. They're teaching other people in such a way that they can't reach that place because it doesn't exist. So they're setting people up for failure from the beginning, and they're charging them money to set them up for failure so that these people keep coming back to them and coming back to them until they get it. And it's a load of crap. I'm a human being, okay? I am all about love until you piss me off.
Yeah.
Then I'm not so much about love. Then it's really hard for me to love you because I want to punch you in the throat. Or if you hurt my kids or my husband, you're gonna worst nightmare, because that's who I am.
People used to say this because I'm a very helpful person. That is my base nature. You know what I mean? And so, like, anybody new coming into a workplace, or like, I will go out of my way to, or even like not new people, I go out of my way to help somebody, with their thing or whatever it is. And like, so when new people come, especially, like, I want to make sure that they feel comfortable there, because I know how it feels to be new in a bigger place, and blah blah. And so then, oftentimes, well, you're so nice. I'm all like, yeah, but don't fuck with me.
There's a switch, right? Yes, I am. I'm the nicest person on the planet. And actually, you can do a lot of stuff to me and I let it roll off my back. So, because I do have more control over my temper than I used to. I will admit that. It's when my loved ones are attacked. That's a whole different story. You go after one of my loved ones, you're going to meet your maker by the time I'm done with you. And usually I don't go around and get physical with people anymore. My thing is, being the Aquarian that I am, maybe Kareen would understand this one too, is I want to make you cry. And I love making men cry more than I love making women cry, because it's easy to make a woman cry. All women cry, right? When you got a man sitting there, yeah, that's power to me. I can't help myself. But exactly, because that's how you have to get to them, is they have to feel it. And when you get to that crying pace, they're obviously feeling it. But sometimes I do it in a very nasty way. Yeah, that's right, Dan. I got your number. You better watch yourself. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's just, sometimes I do go to that physical place too. But I prefer, if somebody is hurting one of my loved ones, it's really hard for me to stop myself. I've had to learn not to get up and go in the car and go smack somebody around because they hurt my baby, who's 21 years old, and he's a man and should be taking care of it himself, really. And he does. You know, my son said to stop me. Wait, Mom, listen. Listen. I already dealt with it. It's already taken care of. Well, it's too bad because I've already got his number now. Forever. It's on the list forever.
You're going to make me look like a sissy boy if you like, just go away, mother. Let me handle my own shit now. Okay?
And that's exactly why I don't do it. It's the same thing for my husband too, because I don't want him to get that. You know, he lets everything falls off his back. And he's very trusting and he's very open. I'm the opposite of that because I've lived in a world where I couldn't trust. So I understand that. So we're totally the opposite of each other. So when somebody is taking advantage of him, my first response is to get up and do something about it, to get up and say something, because he won't say something. Now, part of that for him is diplomacy, which is something that in that moment I lack big time. Big time. I don't have any diplomacy. I'll open my mouth and all this shit just starts rolling out, and I have no control over it. I think that's an Aquarian. Well, it's not just an Aquarian thing. I know a lot of signs that do that. But that's when you flip my bitch switch. If you don't flip the bitch switch, I'm the nicest person you'll ever meet, and I'll do just about anything for you, to a point. Because I'm also fully aware of being taken advantage of, and that's not going to happen if I can avoid it at all possible. So, you know, one of the things the biggest things that I teach my students, especially when I'm teaching them mediumship or personal development, is that we're all still human beings. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to screw up. We're going to go back to our old ways. I tell all my students, you know, I know that sitting there and wallowing in self-pity isn't really the most productive thing for you, but sometimes you need a day to just sit there and wallow in self-pity and get pissed off and mad about it. And then the next day you get up and you do something productive.
Yeah.
Why do you have to not feel what you're currently feeling?
Yeah, that's what I always say is, you know, like there would be people like admonishing you in chat rooms like, oh, don't be so angry. Like, we came to be human beings to feel the full range of our emotions. We have emotions.
Right, because we don't have them in spirit. Not like that.
Yeah. And so,
that's why we're here.
You know, so get out of here. You know what I mean? It's maybe part of my whole goal is to learn when to fire and when not to, and when, you know, how to release this and how to avoid the explosion and just have a slow a slow fizzling of it, you know. But
or deal with it as it comes, you know, rather than holding it in and stuffing it until it blows up.
Oh, don't have fear. Like, we have fear for a reason, you know. Now there comes a point where anything is in excess is not good. But don't tell somebody, you know, that it's bad to have fear. Sometimes having fear saves your effing life. You know what I mean?
Actually, fear is it's very important to have fear, because a lot of the time that fear is telling you something that's very important. And it's usually about something that is very important to you. And one of the things that my guides taught me, which is part of my personal development class, is that if you really look at what your body goes through when you experience fear, what you feel physically when you experience fear, most of the time you get a heart pounding, you get butterflies in your stomach, your legs don't feel like they're as strong as they normally are. They kind of feel noodly or something like that. Those are some basic physical body reactions to fear. Well, what happened when you fell in love? It was the same exact thing. There's no difference. The only difference is interpretation of it. Am I going to love it, or I'm going to be afraid of it? Sometimes you're afraid of what you love. Sometimes you fall in love and then there's fear. That relationship is, you know, I mean, there's a complete difference between an intuitive, this is warning, don't do this, and being a little bit nervous because you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
But that's something that a lot of people have a hard time with. Going back to the Aries Mercury retrograde, actually, it's good that we're talking about this because when we're talking about emotions like anger, for example, Aries and anger kind of sort of go hand in hand because they're not angry people, but when they're upset, you better believe that you're going to hear about it. And everybody's going to hear about it, and then they get over it, and then they're okay. The thing is that one of our biggest communication faux pas in this humanity that we're in right now is that we get angry about something, we go and tell somebody else. We don't tell the person we're angry at.
Yeah.
And what we're actually doing is two things. We're denying ourselves the ability to fix the situation if it can be salvaged. And we're also not allowing that person to maybe change what they're doing because maybe they don't know that they're doing something that's actually hurting your feelings. So we women are the worst about this sort of thing. And our men come up to us, what's the matter? They know that something's the matter because we're sitting there. And my husband always knows when I'm quiet, there's something wrong. Always. Because I'm never quiet.
Well, speaking of fear, they fear the silence.
He does. He fears the silence. Something's wrong. She's not talking. She just stopped talking. Obviously, something's wrong. Then they come up and they go, what's the matter? And we go, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not being true to your feelings. Because inside your head, you've probably killed him 3 or 4 times, and that's not constructive. So then 2 weeks later, the same stupid conversation comes up again, and you feel the exact same way. This Mercury retrogrades help us deal with those situations in a different way, a more productive way. Hey, I don't like how you say that to me. It makes me feel inferior. It makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm not. He and I just had a conversation yesterday where this happened when we were talking about money. I'm going to make sure that we don't overspend our money. Okay, we don't overspend our money. He overspends our money.
Yeah.
Okay? We are opposite in what the norm is. Normally, the wife is spending all the money. That's not true in this instance. I mean, we've got most of this garage is, we're talking thousands of dollars in here in equipment because what he does is expensive. My business is not that expensive, so I don't have to make the investments that he does. But the fact that he brought me into it, you're damn right I was offended. Don't sit here and make it seem like you're going to lasso me in on spending all the money when you're the one who has the problem with the holes in your pockets.
Yeah.
Own your shit. Tell me you're not going to spend the money. Or you're gonna make sure that you don't do something. Not me. I'll deal with me. You deal with you.
Yeah. Well, let's deal with the song break right now, and I think there's one caller, and so we'll do a song break, and then we'll see where we're at on the other side of that, and we'll give it a decent amount of time. Because I haven't played this song in a while. And it's like 8-minute song, so it's a good length song. And so it's Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good. And so we'll be back after this song, and then we'll for sure make time for that call. And anybody else who wants to call in, now would be the time to do so.
Now would be the time. That's right.
Now would be the time. Do not wait until 5 minutes before the end of the show and then pile in, okay? So here we go. We'll be back after this song.
Ain't never been there, they tell me it's nice. I live in hotels, stare at the wall. I have accountants pay for it all. They say I'm crazy, but I have all the time. I'm just looking for clues at the scene of the crime. Life's been good to me so long. My Maserati does 185. I lost my license, now I don't drive. I have a limo right in the back. I left the doors in case I'm attacked. I'm making records, my fans they can't wait. They write me letters, tell me I'm great. So I got me an office, sold records on the wall. Just leave a message, maybe I'll call. Lucky I'm sane after all I've been through. I can't complain, but sometimes I still do. Life's been good to me so
Are you looking for a place to meet like-minded people? Perhaps you're a light worker looking for a safe place to share your thoughts and services. We've got a place for you. IntuiTalks.com. Join for free, post updates, blogs, create and join groups via website or radio or class package. The possibilities are endless. Join the all-spiritual, all-under-one-roof network, www.IntuiTalks.com.
All right, we're back. Welcome back. Quick shout-out. And poor Dan. No, it wasn't you that I thought was waiting. There's an anonymous. It must be Queen. And Mary Margaret, are you just listening? So probably just one caller. I knew that you were just listening, Dan, because I'm highly psychic. You know what I mean? Like, highly psychic, and so I knew. But anyway, and Dan, poor Dan, he's like scared. He's scared to get a reading. So anyway, okay. Hello and thank you for being here. Amy is here. Amy Kavanaugh. Probably Queen is on the phone there. Carol is there. Dan the man. Christy. Diane. Marie, how are you? Marie, I was showing this. I know you would have known. Here. Okay, Marie, you weren't here at the time. What? You remember way back in the good old days, there was this some wine, and I like always had to put the picture. It was like, because like there was some. Can you remember the name of that wine? Marie, please don't let me down. I need you, Marie. And she's probably at the kitchen like cooking right now. See if she comes back to the chat room and come on, like you gotta help me out, Marie. Like you gotta help me out. Like what? It was even a California wine. Remember? Yeah, remember it was like this wine. I'm like, I have to get that wine. It was kind of like I had to get that Rebel beer because my nickname was Rebel, and there was some reason there was this wine that came along and and I had to have it because of what it was called. For 50.
Chris, it was. I put it in the chat, but you never pay attention to me. It was Kumbaya wine.
Oh no, I know it's Kumbaya. I was testing Marie because she was. I know it's Kumbaya because here's the picture. I was trying to test Marie. But yes, Amy gets the 50 curious times points. And so I was just, because Marie wasn't here at the time. And I'm all like, what is that wine? So anyhow, I had to go looking for it in my pictures because I couldn't remember it legitimately. Okay. Anyway, Marie is there. Mary Margaret is there. Melissa, of course, is our guest, the heavy metal sidekick. And Sharon is here. So thank you very much. Let's get Melissa back on. And
it totally looked like it said it was $999 on the bottle. I didn't know it was
It's really cheap, but it would cost $999 to get a bottle.
Yeah, super cheap. Yeah. It's probably $9.99.
That is just. I think that is almost. I don't know.
I've never seen that. I didn't even know it's California grown. I've never even seen it. I mean, we have wineries here in this part of California too, but I haven't seen that one.
I only want, not because I'm a great wine drinker at all, but you gotta have like for reasons just for nostalgia, if nothing else. Okay, so Mary Margaret's on the list for reading, and our anonymous, which is probably Queen. So.
Yeah, can't we ship that? I mean, I don't think there's any.
Yeah, there is a problem with it. There's a problem.
Is there?
With it. Yeah, and like if I want. Okay, I got muted again. There's a problem with it, and if you want to get it sent here, it can only be sent, like, it's really ridiculous in Alberta. It has to be shipped to the liquor control board and processed there for me to receive it. It's ridiculous. And so if I were, I've tried, I contacted them way back. It's time to maybe contact them again. And say, like, are you available in Canada yet? You know what I mean? It just, if it's available in Canada, then even if it's not available in Edmonton, it's not a big deal for me to get it. The problem is the border and alcohol and tobacco and that kind of thing. But if I recall correctly, like, alcohol is treated differently for shipping purposes, and so.
Okay. Well, I'll just put this out there. If I ever do a Canadian tour, which I plan on it, I'll just have to sneak a bottle in the car and bring it with me.
You can bring a bottle over, just declare it. You know what I mean? And you're allowed a certain amount of, like, you would be allowed a bottle of wine. You know, like, if I went to the United States, I could come back with, like, one carton of cigarettes, and not that I smoke and I don't smoke, but I mean, like, and I could come back with, like, one bottle of liquor or something. You know what I mean? Before that I have to pay duty and all of that kind of stuff on it, right? And so, and then once you're in Canada, then you can pop it in the mail. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's an across the border thing.
Yeah, it's an across the border thing. And,
I gotcha.
And so anyway, okay. So there's two people, and we'll go with, are you ready, Freddie? Ready to talk to your adoring fans?
I'm ready. I am ready. And I just want you all to know how lucky you are, because I didn't sleep a wink last night. Ever since the time change, I've been, like, buzzing like I'm on crack or something like that, which I don't do crack, by the way, just to clarify that. But I did take a 2 or 3 hour nap, so I've got just enough for the next half hour, and then I'm probably going to turn into a pumpkin.
Okay, let's get at it then. And so let's go get just meth. No, we know she doesn't do meth because her face isn't covered in scabs. You know what I mean? And
right. So, and it doesn't look all skeletal. Yeah.
And she's not, like, twitching, like, what was that, like, the twitching thing that they do or whatever like that.
Oh, when they chew in their mouth? Yeah. Damn. These are fake. I don't have all my teeth. Still not a meth addict, though. But it's okay. I obviously fooled you and did a very good job, so.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I don't have all my teeth.
Is it Queen? Hello?
No, it's me. It's me, Chris.
That's you? Oh, okay, then you're not here for...
But just to clarify,
no,
she
is
my queen.
She's what?
She is my queen. Hi, Karine.
All right. Okay. Well, then that's my bad. Corey. I just say Mary Margaret is the one getting a reading. So there you go, Mary Margaret. She even unmuted her down. So.
Okay, is the TV too loud?
No, can't hear it at all.
Okay, cool. Hi, Melissa.
Your head.
Hello.
What up?
What up? Oh, a bunch of clouds, and they're pouring down some rain on us. We have, like, our last minute. Oops, it should have rained. Let's get that done before it turns into spring in a few days, in about a week or so. Yeah. But yeah, so do you have a specific question, or are you just looking for a general whatever comes through?
Whatever comes through.
Okay, let me see what's coming through for Mary Margaret. Okay, are you planning a trip by chance, or thinking about planning a trip?
I would like to.
You would like to. Okay, I'm being told it's time to get that planned and get going on it. I know that most of the time it's usually a money issue, and why we don't make those trips. But I also have been told by my guides that a someday trip never happens. A goal becomes a plan, becomes a putting the money aside, becomes the trip. So I'm being told to tell you to start making those plans and set things in motion, because this is a trip that you need to make. It's not just I want to go on vacation. There's something very spiritual, I guess, in it for you, if that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
And that's why you're pulled to do this trip. So I'm just being told to tell you to set those plans in motion and get the energy moving in that direction. Okay. And I'm also seeing that there's a destination in this trip, but there's also like a stop on the way kind of destination, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you're pulled to make that stop, then do so if at all possible, or if you can. Pardon me. Oh my goodness. Because there's a reason why you're being pulled to that. Is this trip to visit family, or there's a young person, a little boy actually, I'm being shown around you. So is this trip to visit this little boy, or is this little boy currently around you?
No, it would just be traveling.
You'll just be traveling, like nomad status.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Just wander, like a gypsy.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's this little boy that's coming up around you. I don't know if this is, if it's not your family, it could be somebody attached to somebody that you know. Cute little boy, absolutely adorable. But I also feel that he's going through some things right now. And you can tell because his behavior has changed. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And he's not vocalizing what's wrong or what the problem is, because he doesn't quite know how to vocalize it. I'm being pulled to tell you that whoever is trying to help this little boy just needs to listen.
Okay.
Okay. And listen fully. Okay. Not try to come up with a solution for the child, but just to listen. He doesn't really know how to express what the problem is, but I do have a feeling that it has something to do with another kid, somebody else around him that's bothering him or bullying him, or something is going on there. And so you're not listening for what the problem is. It'll come out as he's talking, if that makes sense.
Is it can you tell if it's a relative or a friend or a neighbor?
I feel this little boy is very close to you. It could be a neighbor. This is a child that you see on a fairly regular basis. But I can't tell you if it's a family member or if it's a neighbor. All I can say is that this child, it's almost like I'm you looking at this child going, okay, something's off about him. He's cutting up. He's showing some behavioral issues. He's doing things that are uncharacteristic of himself. And he needs to be heard, because if somebody doesn't help him through this, it's going to escalate and get worse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll have to try, and I'm not sure.
Just be aware of all the young little gentlemen around you. Okay, this guy's a little guy. He's not a bigger kid. He's a little guy. Could even be adjustments to, say, starting kindergarten or nursery school or something like that, where that is an adjustment for him, but there's something else going on also around him, and he just needs to be heard. Unfortunately, with kids, a lot of the time, and parents, I am a parent, so I'm guilty of this. We tend to want to just find a solution and move on. But this kid needs somebody who's going to sit down and actually listen and talk with him, and let him just kind of sort of let it come out as it comes out. So I wouldn't say, obviously, that this was your child specifically. It's somebody else's child, because you have the ability to be able to just sit and listen. Okay. This little boy also, he keeps showing me, or I keep being shown that this little boy brings you little flowers. And we're talking like weeds, little flowers. But, you know, this is pretty, I brought it for you, kind of a thing. Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Just be aware
Okay.
of the young men around you. You'll see it. As soon as you see it, you're going to be like, bingo, it's that one.
Okay.
And you'll know. It may not have shown itself yet, or you might have your suspicions, because you're seeing the beginnings of it. Okay. Okay. I'm also being shown a man around you. Now, this could be a son, but it could also be an older man that acts like he's much younger than he is. Like he acts like a child. That makes sense.
I know a few of those.
I'm hearing in my head, you're the biggest baby on the planet. When I'm referring to this guy. And okay, okay. This one particular giant baby, for lack of a better term, and I don't say this about all men, Dan, just so you know, okay? Just this one in particular. This one has been acting out a lot. I mean a lot more than usual. And it's almost like I'm feeling exhausted by the fact that this poor guy seems to be getting himself in one jam after another after another. It's almost like a downward spiral for him. And it's creating this reason why he's acting out the way that he is. I'm gonna laugh because I feel like there's a part of you that wants to smack him in the back of the head and hope that it jars something back where it's supposed to be so that he can function. But that's not the right way to deal with the situation, I'm told. Because it's not going to work, okay? This guy needs, okay. I almost get the feeling that he made a mistake and he's trying to fix the mistake and it winds up being another mistake and he's trying to fix that one and it winds up being another one. Does that make sense? It's like snowball. It's a snowball effect for him. Okay. What he needs is to be able to completely take himself out of these situations because he's stuck in this snowball place. And again, he doesn't, just like this little boy, he doesn't know how to express these feelings. He doesn't know how to express what's going on with him. He has angry outbursts, which is where the quote unquote big baby is coming from. Okay. Because he doesn't know how to deal with it. This guy needs to take, or somebody needs to help take this guy out of this situation so that he can clear his mind of all of this clutter, which is really hard for him, and be able to focus on it like it's brand new. Does that make sense? And I feel that this has something to do with money. It has something to do with a job. It's almost like he can't seem to. I almost get the feeling that he lost a really good job, and now he's scrambling with all these jobs that are just not working for him. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So what the problem is that he's just trying to find any job to keep the money rolling in. Okay. And he's ignoring the job that he wants to do. And so while he's taking any job to keep the money rolling in, none of them are going to fit. He needs to go after what he wants to do. And there is a way to do that and make money at the same time. So I'm hoping this is helpful.
Yeah, that would.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes so much sense you wouldn't believe.
Okay, all right. I might believe it. Try me. No, I'm just kidding.
Except for the part where he wants to get a job. I think, you know what I mean? I think
Yes.
anything but, apply that you don't.
Okay. He needs to keep going. He needs to keep going back there until he gets it. This man has a defeatist attitude. Best way to describe it, he's got a defeatist attitude. It's like nothing ever goes right for him.
Mm-hmm.
While he has this attitude, nothing's going to go right for him.
Pity party.
Yeah, you should send him to me. I'll knock some sense into him.
You can hit him.
You never know. I just might. I have a cast iron pan just for that.
Thank you.
But y'all didn't hear that from me. Yeah, no, I mean, this guy is so smart. He's brilliant. I mean, he's on the spectrum of brilliancy and genius. But he's like his own worst enemy at the same time. It's almost like he's deliberately going out of his way to make his life more difficult than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because he hasn't shaken off the initial loss of that other job. So everything that's happening to him is because of that one job. It's their fault. And while he's pointing the finger at that place, he's handing over the power of his life to somebody else. So,
his fault. I mean, it was, he was the reason.
he may have been the reason, but that doesn't mean that he's taking responsibility for it either.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've actually seen this with some of the men in my life. My own husband is one of those men, and he's done these things and then tried to regain the situation, and it's not working, and it's that snowball, it's that slide down the hill effect. You tried so hard to get up and walk back up the hill, but you can't because your feet are still sliding, kind of a thing. When you're trying to go up the hill the hardest way possible and not the other side that actually has steps carved into the hill where you can easily walk up it. And he's doing it deliberately to punish himself. And it's in his best interest to stop doing that. But I also am being shown that he doesn't necessarily listen to you when you tell him that, because you have told him that.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this guy's kind of a stubborn, kind of stubborn, doesn't want to hear it. Find a different way of communicating it to him. Not as direct, not as in your face, more like, I prefer the method of throwing the idea out there and hoping that the seed plants in his brain so it can germinate. Because if it's his idea, it'll be a lot easier than if it's your idea.
Right.
Okay.
I do try to be subtle.
Well, with some people, you have to be, it's kind of in the middle of being subtle and being direct, because sometimes you have to take that subtle like a brick to the head. It has to be a little bit more subtle than just, there's a balance there, I guess. This man very well, is what I'm being told. So you would know the best way to work him. But while you're frustrated with him, you're going to communicate it as, you big idiot, just do what I'm telling you to do and everything will be fine. Which doesn't always work, unfortunately. It surely doesn't work with my husband at all. We wind up fighting with each other. So for me, it's all about how I deliver that message, I guess. You've also been, you've seen things happen for this man psychically, I guess, maybe in vision or something. And they've come true. But he still doesn't want to listen. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
You want to get used to that because he's not going to listen. He's still not going to listen. A lot of it has to do with, is this man your son and your husband?
In-law. Son-in-law.
Son-in-law. Okay. Close enough to a mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with a mother-in-law, it's a little bit different. No man wants their mother-in-law telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than, okay, tell me the best way to put this. Okay. He's already heard it from you already. And he's already heard it from his wife. And he's probably already heard it from his own mother. And he's probably heard it from about 20 other different people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He needs to accept his responsibility and move on. And the only way to get this through to him is he needs to hear it directed at somebody else, not at himself. So if you were having a conversation with your daughter, let's say, about somebody who did something that cost them something,
Mm-hmm.
and once they owned that something, they were able to move on, he'll absorb that better than being told directly. If he's told directly, it's a constant, you messed up, reminder of you messed up, you screwed up. And a lot of times people get stuck in that, I screwed up. So they're going out of their way to make a situation worse than it is. And that's what I feel with this particular guy.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Does the little boy belong to him?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I wanted to make sure.
No.
That's all I'm getting for you. Do you have any questions?
No, that hit the nail on the head. If Shelby's listening, I think she'd know too.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully he's listening too.
Oh God,
This
no.
man needs to come to my boot camp. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to boot.
No, I've been in. I'm surrounded by men all the time. I'm very familiar with this particular issue.
Oh.
Okay, because it is. But we still have that men are responsible for the family mentality,
Mm-hmm.
even though there's more equality in terms of men and women in the job force right now. But it's still that responsibility is still felt by men. And so when they drop that responsibility because they can't deal with it emotionally, they wind up snowballing. And the thing is that he's got to deal with the fact that if he made a mistake and that's what caused him the loss of that job, until he deals with that, he's going to continue in this snowball direction. And we don't want him to do that anymore. Not just for the people around him, but for him. He's a good guy. He's a really smart guy. And he doesn't need to be he doesn't need to be putting himself through this.
He has his good points. But he's on my list right now, so.
Well, as long as it's not on the permanent list. Because once you get on the permanent list, it's all over.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You don't want to be on my permanent list.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. So I think that's it for callers then. So do you want to tell people where they can find you and where they can find you Friday nights and that kind of thing?
The best bet is to go to the Heavy Metal Psychic page on Facebook. Because that's the one where I'm going to. That's right. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. The website is actually still there. Not gone anywhere. But I'm actually doing a new website because I just don't want to pay for a website right now. I can't. We're kind of sort of, cutting things down and stuff like that. So I'm building a new one that is a free one again, because it's an expense that I just don't want right now. The Paramania radio shows, I think this week is going to be the last one for a while. I'm taking a break from the Heavy Metal Psychic radio show just because I really just don't know where to go with it right now. And my Fridays are starting to become more and more busy, that it's just, I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now, and I'm I don't know what to do with it anymore. So, but I think the encore shows will still be there, so you can always go to the uh uh not the listen live link, but the archives to listen to any of the shows. So I think I'm going to do my retirement show this week and then take a break for a while, and possibly if I do come back to it, move it to a different day, because Fridays are just they're just not working anymore. I've also got a tour that I'm setting up for the summertime through and the tour is through Northern California, Oregon, and Washington, all the way up and then all the way back down. I'm going to take about 2 weeks to do a little heavy metal psychic tour, and I'll be doing parties along the way. So if you are in extreme Northern California, Oregon, or Washington, then get in touch with me at the Heavy Metal Psychic on Facebook to book your party, because that's my tour. I'll be doing parties all the way up and down. And I've already got about 4 or 5 of them booked so far, or people that are going to do a party. I just haven't set the date. As soon as I have my second car, that date is getting set. But I want to make sure that I have the means to make that trip. So there's a lot of new neat stuff going on. And also, well, I'll just show you here really quick that the screens are up. And that means that the horoscopes are coming back. We just have to start recording again. I've had so many people like, where's the horoscopes? I don't even know what's happening in my life anymore because the horoscopes aren't there. And or they can't plan anything or whatever. So those links will be up by the time I come back in April. They will be up again. So, but you can always search the Heavy Metal Psychic on YouTube, and you'll see my little Heavy Metal Psychic logo there. I'm the only one. You'll see my eyes, and subscribe if you hadn't subscribed. As soon as the video is uploaded, you will get a notification in your email that the video has been uploaded. And there's other videos that I'm currently about to start working on too. So lots of changes are coming up actually in 2018 for me. I'm trying to get some new things going. So some old things are some old things are coming back, and some current things are going to be put on the list of old things.
There you go. Everything old is new again.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we're doing the horoscopes a little bit different this time. We're not doing the green screen and all of that, because that really was a lot of work, and it took hours to render it. My poor husband didn't have his access to his computer for forever. What? Really? Are you sure? Is that true? I'm checking the trending like right now. Because, ever since I got duped about John Bon Jovi dying, I don't believe it till I see it in real news.
Yeah, I hear ya.
Yeah, okay, you'll always check. Okay, good, me too.
Whenever that happens, yeah, I go I go whoever it is, and then go such and such dead hoax, and then if it comes up, you know what I mean, as a hoax. And,
yeah, seriously, I was about to go into full mourning when I found out John Bon Jovi died, and I was so upset, and then I found out that it wasn't true, and I was mad. I was really mad. They duped me. They got me.
Okay, well, so go get you some sleep, woman, and
yeah, seriously.
Thank you so much. I know it's like my sleep has been way wonky. Of course it usually is, but it's been exceptionally more so even in this past few weeks or whatever. So,
it's the energy. We're changing seasons in 7 days, and the time change and all of that. I always find that every year I do this, I tend to go to sleep earlier in the wintertime and sleep more. And then once spring and summer hits, I stay up later and I sleep less. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's the energy shift, I guess.
Well, so we will talk to you again soon, and take good care of you. Thank you so much for continuing to do the show with us. We appreciate it very much.
Oh, it's always fun to do this show.
And so, okay, you guys, I'm gonna toss a song on and see if any of you are hanging out for overtime or if we're just gonna get out of here. And so we'll check back with you after the song. Thanks again. Heavy Metal Psychic. Oh yeah, not go on Facebook. Go on Facebook. Okay, see you guys.
Yeah,
See
go
ya.
on.
Thank
Facebook's
you.
the best place.
All
Bye,
right, here we go.
everybody.
Good night.
The continent of Atlantis was an island which lay before the great flood in the area we now call the Atlantic Ocean. So great an area of land that from her western shores those beautiful sailors journeyed to the south and the North Americas with ease in their ships with painted sails. To the east, Africa was her neighbor, across a short strait of sea miles. The great Egyptian age is but a remnant of the Atlantean culture. The antediluvian kings colonized the world. All the gods who play in the mythological dramas, in all legends from all lands, were from fair Atlantis. Knowing her fate, Atlantis sent out ships to all corners of the earth. On board were the 12. The poet, the physician, the farmer, the scientist, the magician, and the other so-called gods of our legends, though gods they were. And as the elders of our time choose to remain blind, let us rejoice and let us sing and dance and ring in the new. Hail Atlantis!
All right, we're back. I don't know, is anybody coming on, or what are we doing, guys? If you're coming on, then unmute. Otherwise, we will shut her down for the night and come back tomorrow. Kathleen is on tomorrow.
Anybody else there?
Not that I know of. There's.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Hello. Yeah. Hey, hang on. Let me shut down the recording. So thanks all the archive listeners. We're back tomorrow with Kathleen Moore. We'll see you then.